wanted to offer a few frameworks for thinking about subversive strategic competitions, which will align with many of the themes that will be discussed throughout the rest of the day. As we've heard from Dave, Congressman Gallagher, and others, PRC subversive strategic competition follows a generally predictable sequence. This is a simplified version, but in many times it starts with a commercial presence targeting key industries such as fishing, lumber, or mining. It is then subsequently followed by a large infrastructure project such as roads, rail, bridges, or ports. Those projects can be greased by corruption, bribery, or access to below market interest rate loans. Those activities then enable political influence with the eye towards eventual establishment of a military presence, secured access to critical inputs, or a political end, such as switching recognition from Taiwan to Beijing. Supporting these activities is a narrative of China as the champion of the global South, the friend of the developing world, and that is simply, not true. And underpinning all of these activities are corruption, criminal linkages, violations of international norms, and that is what we can use to our advantage in countering subversive strategic competition. So I'll offer what is sort of a positive U.S. strategy that I call engage and enforce. And the good news is that we have existing authorities, programs, operations that can be used to directly push back on subversive strategic competition. And I think Jade Spear is an excellent example of that in practice. The bad news is that it does require coordination across the whole of government, international partners, and the private sector. So this simplified framework begins with detection and awareness. We must actually pay attention to what is happening on the ground. The details matter. And it's not just about intelligence. We also need non-governmental organizations, private companies, and international partners playing a part of that detection and awareness. Once we know what's happening on the ground, subsequent analysis or law enforcement investigation is needed, including prioritization. We can't simply respond to everything that's happening in the world. We must be selective about what we do. We need to determine whether to pursue engagement via an investment, development, or aid, or pursue enforcement via law enforcement actions, regulatory actions, economic policies, or economic statecrafts, or other financial mechanisms. Instead of trying to go head-to-head on IT communication infrastructure, for example, where we'll just end up in a subsidy war, we should prioritize topical areas that align with how the U.S. can demonstrate leaderships on topics such as critical resources, food, water, people, energy, and minerals, environmental protection, restoration, climate change mitigation, and green energy systems. At the same time, we can seek opportunities to shift supply chains, to diversify networks, create partnerships with countries that uphold our values, de-risk the overall system from shocks and economic coercion. These activities uphold the existing rules-based international order through enforcement of those illegal, illicit, and corrupt practices, which can feed into a strategic communication and messaging strategy that both exploits and calls out the bad behaviors of the PRC, as well as supports our positive engagements in these countries. So what would that actually look like in practice? Well, as we did learn from Jade Spear, a planning and coordination function that supports the interagency and non-government participations is critical. It doesn't need to be a huge group of people, but it does need dedicated staff to help keep the group organized and the whole entity moving forward. It requires access to public, commercial, and exquisite data sources, subject matter expertise, and analytical and decision support capabilities. The cell itself does not need operational authorities. Those should remain with the existing operators in the coordination body. Also, there could be a number of these. You don't need simply one. There could be a number of these coordination cells across a variety of topics, issues, and regions. And finally, I want to mention that the point in subversive strategic competition isn't just to respond to known threats. You need to be able to act when fleeting opportunities present themselves, and having a standing entity such as this supports that activity.